like it used to, and I need another notch on my belt. If
Welcome
you're looking for a six-pack muscled up.
Talking sports. My camera's not working, but Bacon, I see you. And no way. You got the Texas Rattlesnake. TJ is in the house. TJ, how you doing, my friend?
What's up, fellas? How you guys been?
Great. How have you been, bud?
Oh, just living that East Coast life of hopefully not getting shot during this election year.
We were talking a little bit about it before the show here, but I would imagine living in the DC area is much like living in Wisconsin near Madison. I've always loved Madison I had friends that went to school there, so I'd go up there or go down there and to some frat parties and whatnot back in the college days. It was always fun to go there, but I could never stand living there.
No,
and not to get into politics, but I cannot imagine living in such a one-sided place like Washington D.C. or like that area,
dude. And living the blue collar life. A lot of us blue collar people we're very very political. I mean, we could sit down for lunch, we could talk hours on politics, but then there's times where we're just like off the clock. We're like, dude, this is getting so tiring, especially working in DC, especially working, 6 blocks from, the White House or, the most recent job we had was 3 blocks from the Capitol building.
Okay.
So, and it's actually kind of funny. I sent a Snapchat to like all my friends driving down this road, wasn't paying attention. Caffeine hasn't hit my system. I go down a wrong way street and I see this, it was a black Suburban pulls up in front of me. Dude gets out. So I'm thinking, oh shit, backing up. So I put it in reverse. Another one pulls in behind me. Dudes come out with like ARs and everything. And they're just like, what are you doing? I was like, I'm supposed to be here. And they go, oh, that's on that side. Little did I know that the Kamala Harris is walking down the street 2 blocks from there and they have it shut down. And we didn't know. So you got this dump truck just flying down. And they're just like, what are you doing? I'm like, okay, I'm so sorry. Like, this is where I got to go.
Yeah. That reminds me quick. I'll just tell this story too quick, sort of similar to that, but not a little different. While Ben's trying to get back on here, my wife and I went to Maine for our honeymoon. This is years ago. Yeah. And we stayed for part of the trip. We stayed in Kennebunkport, which is right where the Bush family has their like compound or whatever. And one of the days we went, one day we went whale watching, and the other day we went lobster. Like we went on a lobster boat, so they took you to show how they get lobsters and check on their lobster traps and all that kind of stuff. And I don't know if someone asked the guy a question or if he just was talking about like the life of, what they do and things they see. And he goes, one of the most entertaining things that I enjoy watching is seeing drunk college fraternity, brothers get in their boats and try to get as close as they can to the Bush compound without the Secret Service coming out with their AR-15s or whatever it is that they've got.
Dude, it's funny too, because with tensions rising and everything around this area is on high alert. Yeah. And the Naval Academy being one of them is they're always out on their little patrol boats, getting them ready to, go into the fleet, because a lot of the first class this year, they're graduating. So they're, months away from being on the fleet. And they have what they call the no boating zone. Monday through Fridays on the Severn River, which is the river that literally goes right next to the Naval Academy. They have Coast Guard boats just sitting at the mouth of the Chesapeake and at the one end of this bridge. And they're just sitting there. And when you drive over the bridge, you see like these just 50 cows just sitting, just patrolling. You're just like, yeah, today's not the day that I wish death upon anybody.
No kidding. Well, hey, so again, we're waiting for Ben to try to connect back here. He's having some technical issues, but since you've been away for a while, but we've all been still connected on Facebook.
Yes.
what have you been up to as far as I know? You've got some stuff going on with football coaching, correct? Because are you done
Yes.
playing now? Your playing days are over, or what's up with that?
I'm officially retired.
Okay.
I retired last season. It was a great season. Well, great season. We didn't win a damn game, but it was fun because I felt like this team was a lot closer than we have in most recent years. So it was really good. We all got really close together. We all still talk. A bunch of the guys made it to the next level. Some guys still are here in the developmental league. So I retired from the Warriors, and the Warriors ended its career. So I played 7 years with the Warriors. That was 7 years. I started from the beginning of the Warriors to the end of the Warriors. So I think it was like perfect timing with that.
Yeah.
And we merged with the other Maryland team, the Maryland Eagles. So now we're the Maryland War Eagles. And like 2 days after I retired, they're like, "Hey, you're on the coaching staff." And I said, "Hey, let's do it. I can't say no to football." So we've been busy the past couple months, actually getting a lot of guys to certain tryouts. We just had our tryout last weekend, which was awesome. The guys who showed up ready to play, they're ready to knock some heads. We have a great slate of games this year. New teams. A lot of teams from our old conference, they moved up leagues. We want to stay developmental because, I mean, you take Jimmy Bob right here in the backyard and put him in arena football. He don't know what pros are like. So
Yeah.
we've just been, kind of working with that. So yeah, I've officially retired. And honestly, it's just been work, kind of getting, the football ready for this season, and just sitting my butt down on Saturdays and Sundays and watching some football myself.
Nice. Oh, Troy, why don't you get on here, man? Come on. Yeah, come on. Troy's saying,
Come on, Troy. I know you want to jump on. I'm back.
Get on here, Troy, so we can talk a little bit of baseball here. So what, we'll see. You love technology, and live podcasts where Ben was on and now he's still.
And now it's just like, whew.
Yeah, exactly.
I think Aaron Rodgers is still plaguing him since I left.
Yeah. We'll talk a little AR8 later on when we get to the football segment. But why don't we talk a little bit? We mentioned in our pre-show discussion we were going to touch on baseball because yes. I am still disgruntled, and I put that post out. I believe it was yesterday that poll asking how many people were paying attention to baseball because and I'm a disgruntled Brewers fan who still is not over the way we lost this year. I mean, we had it there 2-0. You're thinking, okay, this is it. We finally get over the hump and we make it to the next round, and then Pete Alonso, go suck it. But what are your thoughts on now? You're an Astros fan. What are your thoughts on their performance in the playoffs? And then are you going to watch the World Series or not?
So starting with the Astros, I was very disappointed. I didn't really think Detroit could play with us, honestly. That was a team that Troy, let's go. What's up, man?
Hey, I just got home not that long ago, so I don't have my computer and stuff booted up, so I'm just on my phone. I don't know what this sounds like or whatever, but just in the middle of doing dadly chores, getting ready to switch wash, all that kind of fun stuff right now. So nice. I had to come on, say hi to you real quick. What are you guys talking about? The baseball playoffs?
We're talking about the World Series right now.
Yeah,
we're talking about how the Astros did, and then just getting TJ's thoughts on the World Series that nobody really wants to see unless you're like a diehard baseball fan or a Dodgers and Yankees fan. That's about it. But
yeah, because like I said, I didn't think Detroit was actually going to do something this year, especially coming in the playoffs. Everybody. I think I watched a little bit of MLB Network coming into like that series with the Tigers and the Astros, and they were like, "Oh yeah, Astros have like an 83% chance of beating them." I'm like, sweet. So who we play next? Like, and I was getting ready for it. My buddies and I were actually looking at getting tickets because if it all worked out, Houston and Baltimore would play. And I was like, dude, we got to go to those games. Like, that was what we wanted to do. So, Astros went down 0-1. I'm like, well, damn. I wasn't really looking at that, but I made some connections to where, Detroit really looked like the Nationals. When the Nationals won the World Series, they were scrappy, they were young, they had talent that was very green. So, there's a lot to learn in that organization. So a lot of green. Well, AJ Finch won a World Series with the Astros. So he had that team. He knew what to do with that team. Beat us 2-0. I banged my head on the door a couple times and, just was not a happy camper. And then, the O's lost. So I was like, well, I ain't got no play in this MLB season. So, I kind of turned it off. And then, I got a couple guys at work. They're massive Yankee fans. I don't know how they became Yankee fans. I think they just, when the O's lose, they're like, yeah, we'll root for them. But they've been talking about it all week. This is not a series I want to watch. I'm sorry. I could care less who wins. Everybody said this was going to be a Yankees Dodgers World Series from the get-go. And I'm like, I see that, money buys everything.
Yeah. Well, yeah. And I feel like that's the biggest, issue with right now is like, I know as a sports fan, yeah, Shohei Ohtani, I get it. Aaron Judge, I get it. I get all that. But coming from, first of all, a small market in Green Bay, granted that's not baseball, but still a small market. And even Milwaukee is a smaller market compared to a lot of the other cities. So living in Wisconsin, basically, and being raised like my dad raised me as a Wisconsin sports fan, he raised me to hate all big cities. Like we hate New York, we hate LA. And here, this is what I have. So I'm like, this is why I'm like, I don't really even have an interest in watching it. Troy, what about you? Are you going to check it out a little bit or not?
I mean, I think I'll follow along. I'll probably tune in every once in a while, but there's no way I'm going to sit and watch a game from beginning to end. It won't hold my interest. It's just, I mean, I'm kind of similar to you, and it's not really because of where I grew up so much. It's just like I just get tired of seeing the big market teams dominate stuff all the time. It just gets really old,
Yeah.
It's funny too because like I looked on, I think it was like DraftKings today, and they're like, who's going to hit the first home run? Like I think it's like plus 175 for Ohtani to hit the first home run. It's like plus 190 for Aaron Judge. And I'm just like, who cares? Like they're going to crush him.
Who does have home field in this?
Right.
I think it's the Yankees because
the Yankees
I think they
the record.
Yeah, with the record, but I think it's also they still do it with like the MLB All-Star game. So the AL
I don't think it does anymore. Actually,
no. Okay.
I think it's literally.
I think they stopped doing that with the All-Star game because so many fans were getting annoyed with that. But yeah, I wasn't really sure how they. But now that they all play each other, I suppose you could go because didn't it used to be? Didn't it used to be since before they had interleague play that they would just flip-flop every year? Like 1 year was NL, 1 year was AL. And I think now that they all play each other, they do actually go by your record or whatever. But
it does. LA has home field. It starts off in LA this Friday. So sorry, my camera's not working, guys. I mean, probably being blessed not seeing my ugly mug, but you hear my voice instead. But I'll call it the IBM or Lenovo curse here with my ThinkPad. But anyway, that being said, you guys hit on the head. This World Series is the one no one wanted. I said it before the show started. This is like watching this election with Harris and Trump. You're just like, can they both go away? Because anyone else but these guys, and I'm probably into it. So it's again, the star power is there, cool, but I don't really love that. If I'm being honest, as a baseball fan, I want to see the underdog story making it through. I want to see, something different. And right now, again, obviously as a Brewers fan, I'm biased. We had our run. We looked better than anyone thought we were going to be this year. But we choked. Call it what it is, right? The Diamondbacks last year.
Yeah.
They made their run. even though they beat us, I was cheering for them. So I'm like, you know what? That's something different. A young team coming up, I can cheer for that.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, the Yankees Dodgers is kind of like being forced to eat liver and onions. I mean, you're just like, I know it's probably fine for me, but it doesn't smell right. So
I agree with you, Ben. It's I mean, as much as the Mets are in a big market, I kind of felt like they were the underdog of this whole series, and that's why, even though you can say they're from New York, it's a big market, blah blah blah. They kind of are always the lovable loser, and that's why I kind of, even though they're in my same division as my team, I was kind of pulling for them a little bit to see them make it.
For Grimace's sake, doggone it, I'll cheer for Grimace, not the Mets.
Well, see, it's funny too, because I was reading something around here, and there were actually going to be more. Like they said, if it was a Subway Series, that would have sold out immediately. There's still tickets going for this for the Yankees World Series, and I'm just like, you'd be like, I'm very shocked that these are not resale tickets. These are actually tickets from the Yankees, and they're trying to sell them. Yeah, the diehard Yankees fans will go, they'll travel, whatever. I would not be surprised if the viewership of this World Series goes down massively. And the only reason why I think it would go up would be like Ohtani's cranking 4 home runs a game. Yeah, I want to watch history as well. At the end of the day, like, you kind of saw this coming. Ohtani played for the Angels. They couldn't do diddly squat with him. So you go to another market in LA that has money behind them. And they have like history, yes, but they have money. You stack that team, cool. You stack the next team, which would be the Yankees. The Yankees stack themselves up. They got, Verdugo. They got all these, great players from other organizations that were faces of the franchise. Now you got 2 teams that are like, I would say the powerhouses of the MLB right now. It's kind of boring to watch. I agree with Ben. I want the underdogs. I want, some, like, if the Indians made it, that would have been amazing. The Indians versus the Mets. That would have been, I would have watched that, not even having a stake in it. Yep. But yeah, this one right here, I'll catch the first game. I'll be like, oh yeah, go baseball, turn it off and watch the college football.
Yeah, so what bugs me the most, honestly, guys, is going back to 2011. The Dodgers sucked. They filed Chapter 11 bankruptcy. And then in the 13 years since, they spent more money than anyone in baseball. And that just blows my mind. When you have over $500 million in liabilities recorded at that point in time, and now you're this team that signs, they're the Yankees of the 90s.
Yeah,
they're signing everybody, it feels like. And it's just obnoxious. And look, I don't hate Magic. I don't hate the overall ownership group that took over the Dodgers. But, I mean, MLB's involvement there just makes it feel dirty. Like, I don't like it. And people criticize the Brewers. And, of course, bring back to my teams here a little bit. Because Bud Selig was our commissioner for how long. The Brewers did absolutely ditch. It was all those years. They couldn't do anything. Yep. He left, and all of a sudden we're good. But my point here is that MLB really pushed the Dodgers back to relevance, and it's a crying shame. Like, sometimes let natural selection take its course and let the Dodgers die. But here we are, and here they are, and they're not going away now. Overall, if I'm going to watch, it'll be a Game 7 maybe. If that goes that far, I might watch them. But I have very little interest in watching unless it's going to be something like crazy like that. So
what? Quick picks? I'll go Yankees in 6.
I'm going to go Dodgers in 5.
I'm actually Dodgers in 7. I think that the home field advantage plays out for them. And the Dodgers and the Mets both are playing with magic. They both had a little bit of something behind them this year. You talk about Detroit, the Mets a lot of times in our chat. Mm-hmm. But the Dodgers beat that magic. I think they kind of take it over by proxy. And I think the Dodgers beat the Yankees here just to – and maybe my spite as a baseball fan to want to spite the Steinbrenner family a little bit more, just stick it to them. And I hate the Dodgers, guys. Like, they're my second least favorite team in baseball, only behind the Yankees. The Cardinals are my very close third. But, like, this is legitimately my worst case scenario as a baseball fan watching a World Series. It's just trash.
Yeah. If the Mets or Guardians or anybody would have snuck through, I would have been tuning in a lot more than what I'm going to be tuning in now, for sure.
Give me the Jill Stein of baseball to come take a little bit of a conversation on the microphone, because this is ridiculous. Guys, switching gears, last night was a really cool thing in sports. I don't know if you guys caught this. The Frozen Frenzy happened with ESPN, and the entire NHL played last night. All the teams, and they were all accessible if you want to watch them last night. So really cool moment. And a lot of you guys out there, you probably have Disney Plus for the kids, whatever else. Up your package, get that ESPN Plus package with it. You can watch every hockey game out of market you want to. I love it. As a Capitals fan here in Wisconsin, I can watch all the Capitals games. But just want to boost hockey is kind of that last stronghold of, dare I say it, not insane contracts. I mean, you look at what's out there for the major sports: basketball, baseball, football, all have these $50 million guys.
Yep.
Hockey's like sweating when the guy gets $15 million. They're like, holy crap, how are they going to survive with that? So go watch hockey. It's a good product. Sorry, probably the Sabres suck again.
Hey, they beat the Stars last night.
That they did. That they did. Look, my Capitals are still rebuilding too, so I can't be too loud about that one. But hockey's back, guys, and it feels good. It's a nice little new pastime for me as baseball's coming to an end. I think this year the one thing I'll call out right away is the Utah Hockey Club taking a European soccer approach to their team naming rights. Is kind of funny. We'll see how that plays out. And then also the LA Kings going to a modern retro look with the silver and black coming back.
Yes, I like that a lot.
And as a younger kid, seeing when the Kings went to that purple and black, it was confusing with the Sacramento Kings. I'm like, Sacramento and LA are very far apart. I don't know if you ever looked at a map; those are not close together. You have SoCal and NorCal, but they both the Kings. They both have purple and black. It just didn't make sense. So I'm thrilled to see the Gretzky silver and black coming back for the Kings. Not a Kings fan, but happy to see a return of an old friend.
Hey,
I think
fellas, real quick, didn't mean to interrupt, but I'm gonna sign off for now. But I just wanted to say hi and jump in and give my little 2 cents here real quick. But hey, have a good rest of the show, fellas.
Thank you, Troy.
See you, buddy.
I think like the start of NHL season was really good because I think the main sports I watch are football, baseball when it's good, and hockey. Right. Well, and NASCAR. NASCAR's getting at the tail end of it, so now I got NHL starting up. But what I really liked this season was with the Gaudreau twins dying. It wasn't like a one game, they did one thing. Every team that plays against the Columbus Blue Jackets or the Flames or wherever the Gaudreau twins played, they do something for them. And I think that's awesome because a lot of times when we see that in the NFL or, NBA was different with Kobe Bryant, but like when you see somebody else die, it's like one thing, like one game, they're like, oh, let's, we'll run the clock out for them or we'll have one man missing. Every game this season that I've watched, something's happened. And I think that's awesome because it's very sad what happened. The story of it is just extremely heartbreaking.
Terrifying.
But those two were probably two of the best up-and-coming players, and we won't get to watch them. And it sucks because, I remember watching the youngest one. What was that? Matt, I think, was a young one in college. I watched him play a couple games here in Maryland because they had their Frozen Four at the Capitol Center. Dude, he's a stud. I mean, the dude is phenomenal. Sucks to not see him play.
It's one of those, again, gone too soon. There's been a lot of that across baseball, right? We've had some guys that these things happen. They go back to the Dominican or wherever, but this one just feels that much more senseless and so much more avoidable.
Yes.
And on their sister's wedding weekend, no less, it's just like they're just going for a bike ride.
Yep.
But great point, TJ. It's cool to see the unity that you can see across the league to come behind one cause here, like these two guys taken too soon. And you don't have to be a Blue Jackets or Flames or whatever fan. You can just appreciate these are good guys who meant something to the game. They were some of the good ones. just taken from us way too soon.
Yes, agreed.
On a different note, I'm going to be a little bit dark here and go towards the Lakers. Bronny checks in with his dad last night and immediately gets posterized. Look, I think I speak for everybody saying we're all cheering against Bronny. Like, this is the ultimate nepotism case in America right now of a dude who has no business in the job he's in, trying to act like he's something special, and he's just not. Bronny is a fraud.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
They had LeBron James mic'd up last night. And I got to, on my lunch break, I listened to his thing, and when they were like, oh, he's going in at such and such time, they took LeBron out for a little bit to get a breather or whatever. And when Bronny came in, LeBron went back in as well. And there was like, oh, this is history. First time, father and son got to play in the MLB. And I'm just like, I don't care. Like, yeah. I hate to say it. Like, I really don't care, because it's going to show one of two things. One, LeBron James, in this era of kids, a lot of these high school kids are like, oh, LeBron James is the best. Oh, this, that, whatever. When I grew up, dude, like, it was Michael Jordan. 100%. And, when people are like, oh, Michael Jordan never got to play with his kid. Cool. Who cares?
Yeah.
Right.
Cool. Yeah, awesome. LeBron James gets to play with his son. That's awesome. I wish that for everybody. We'll never see in the NFL unless the dude has him at like 19 and he's a kicker. We're never going to see that in the NFL. But
two punters.
Yeah, like, two punters come out and it's like, all right, cool. That's awesome. But, with this one, they had him mic'd up, and when he was getting ready to go in, he goes, hey, are you ready? And you hear Bronny go, no, I'm not. Well, yeah, you were scared. You sucked. You had one season in college, and it wasn't even a good season.
Yeah.
I think I mentioned this in our group chat a couple of weeks ago. I tried to, I have a bunch of different podcasts on my phone that I listen to, and one that I don't listen to on a regular basis, but I happen to listen to it just because of the title of the particular episode, is Rick Bucher has a I think it's called On the Ball with Rick Bucher. So he, and for those that aren't basketball fans, he covers the NBA and basketball in general, but I think mainly the NBA. He's a writer and all that, and it was after he did the podcast after one of their preseason games where they both played at the same time, and the title was Bronny James and LeBron, gimmick or history is what it was. And he said, and it was fantastic. And the reason why I bring it up is because he actually broke down some of the players that went right before Bronny and right after Bronny in the draft and where they are.
Yeah.
And the differences, none of these guys got guaranteed deals. None of these guys got a guaranteed spot on the team. Like one of them played for 4 years at, it was like, I think Gonzaga, and he averaged like 15 points a game, played in the national championship game and all that. And he didn't even make a roster for opening night, I don't believe.
Yep.
He got a 2-way deal, none of which is guaranteed or something. You have to listen to it. It's like a 20-minute podcast. So, if you have some time, I highly recommend it. But, for everybody, and I agree with Ben, this is a classic case of nepotism. And the biggest thing I hear from people on Facebook is, well, this happens in the business world all the time and nobody says anything. You know what? I don't like it when it happens in the business world either. Okay. But I'm not hearing every time it happens at some little bank in, Macon, Georgia or wherever. This is right in front of us.
Macon sounds like Macon.
Yeah, exactly. That's why I picked it. But we don't hear about that stuff. This we're hearing about all the time, and not only are we hearing about, but it's shoved in your face. If you're on social media and you follow sports pages at all, you can't freaking get away from it, even if you tried. So, people have an opinion on this, whereas they don't necessarily have it in the business world because of the fact that it's right there. And if you don't celebrate it, or if you express any kind of disinterest in it, it's like, oh, you're a hater. I'm like, I'm not a hater. I just look at the kid and I go, he's not ready. He belongs in the G League, if at best, maybe not even in the G League, you know? So that's what pisses me off. It's like, okay, LeBron, fine. Just retire. Just go away. You got to play with your son. Now just go away.
So I think the point I go to here a lot, honestly, guys, is I look at this and I say the reality of it is Bronny doesn't belong there. I get it. It's the price to pay for LeBron. The Bucks have done the same thing with Thanasis. I mean, he does not belong as a Buck either. I get it. Doesn't make it right. But
he wasn't. The difference is. Oh, here we go.
Hey, what's going on, guys? I saw TJ on
Brad. Hey, Brad.
What's up, Brad?
Talk about LeBron. I know you got NFL coming up. I just got back from vacation, so had a little bit of time to slide in.
Dude, okay, hold on. Brad, I am super jealous you went to In-N-Out. I was going to text you to mail me one, but I don't think it would make it very well.
Dude, it's solid. I tell you what, I think, yeah, if I'm, I guess maybe if I'm in the middle of, or you guys are in the middle of this LeBron-Bronny convo, I'll make it short and sweet that I think the fries are good. Maybe a slightly overrated because they go a little bit like, they don't have much longevity to them. If you get them hot and they're good and fresh right there, they're fire. But after about 10, 15 minutes, they just kind of lose their luster.
And they get so I've been told they get little floppy.
Not floppy. I think that so they're freshly cut. So you can they're a little more crispy on the outside. But again, they're not as full. So it's like, I don't know how to describe it, but they just, again, by the time you're at the end of your meal, your fries aren't that good.
Yeah.
Look, I can make a meal out of Five Guys Cajun fries. Me up. That bag of grease is so
all you need is a small, and then you got half a bag.
Right.
Literally.
The burger I thought the burger was really good. I got that animal style with their special sauce and onions and stuff on it, and that was absolutely delicious.
Now, is that just In-N-Out Burger? Is that just LA?
That's a West Coast. Yeah,
it's a West Coast thing.
So is that where you tried it, TJ, when you were out there sometime or whatever? Or?
No, so we don't have In-N-Out on the East Coast. We have either White Castle, Five Guys, or we actually have a Whataburger now. Whataburger is really good.
Yep.
But I've never had In-N-Out. But it's crazy because my father-in-law is over on the West Coast, and he's like, "Oh, you guys should come out here." I'm like, the only reason why I would come out to come see you is to get In-N-Out and just fly back to the East Coast.
So the In-N-Out, the furthest eastern In-N-Out is in, it looks like Dallas, Texas. No, Houston, Texas. Technically, Houston's further south. It's further east.
Yep, that makes sense. Look, Five Guys is a Maryland thing. I love it, and those guys started out there. Look, I'm not hating In-N-Out at all. I've not had it yet. I can't judge it. But Five Guys still has the burger crown for me for chain restaurants. And but your pictures, bro, are awesome. Like, things you guys got to see on that trip were incredible. Yeah. So I'm happy for you and your family.
Well,
that was some of those pictures I had. Like, I would take a minute or two and look through, and I'm just like, because you scroll through everybody's Facebook or your feed, and you're just like, oh man, you suck. You're here. Seeing what you guys were doing, I was like, all right, now I gotta go. Like, I truly have to go now.
Yeah, those trees are, I mean, they make you feel real small real quick.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
I've never seen anything. So I mean, when you're looking at literal 350 foot tall trees,
I'm sold. Send me.
I mean,
I want to feel small, guys. I want to feel small.
Yes. But about this Bronny and Bron, I couldn't agree with you more, TJ. I think it was overhyped. It was, and the reason it was overhyped was because exactly what Aaron said, is that he should be a G leaguer right now. He's not ready for the moment. You could tell he was, man, you could tell he just did not look good. It was just him and Dad playing some kind of pickup ball and some barely any motion plays. He had one good setup shot that he missed, but At the same time, you could just tell with his time on the court, because I went back and I didn't just watch the Sports Center highlights. I watched the entire time he was on the court, and you could just tell he's a deer in headlights right now.
Yeah, and I think the big thing as well with the whole LeBron thing, I'm massive into gear. Like, Ben sent me the photo of the Packers all whites, and I fell in love with them. I was like, dude, this is awesome.
Fire, dude. Awesome.
See, I think the Bears should do the same thing and call them the polar bear outfits.
I love it.
Yes, I'm so in for that. But I went online today just to see like what jersey sales go on, because I like just seeing like when the baseball season ends, like, of course we're going to get the Yankees and Dodgers, whatever. Those are the highest selling. Bronny's jersey wasn't even in the top 10
Good.
today.
It shouldn't be. I mean, the guy's not – he's not crap yet. His dad is one of the top 5 all-time players, but he's not anything.
Yeah. Now, I do think it is a big deal that I don't think you can't discount the actual occurrence of a father and a son playing on the same NBA team. That's
Sure.
it, because the longevity of a standard NBA career is like maybe mid-30s. There are only a handful of dudes that are good going into their 40, and Bron is definitely one of them. And,
yeah, he's on year like 22, I think.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
But
bottom line is that, I mean, for it to happen, even though sure it's a little suspect and it really doesn't pass the smell test, it still happened.
Yeah.
So
And I would agree with you on that, Brad, but I will say I'm more impressed with the Griffeys. I mean, like their accomplishment of playing at the same time, and I think they were even on the same team. Were they both on Seattle? Did they?
I can't remember. Did both of them either have a hit or both have a home run in a game once?
They both had a home run.
Was that what it was? Okay.
Yeah.
I mean,
that's significant right there.
Yeah.
I mean, to be able to have one of the best plays that you could have in your sport to occur between a father and son like that's insane.
Yeah. And to me, like you both, like they both came up the right way. Like I feel like this whole thing was manufactured. Like if Bronny was not related to LeBron James, he'd still be in college right now. Or maybe overseas if he didn't want to be in college,
right.
but he would not be in the NBA. And whereas Ken Griffey earned his way, Ken Griffey Jr. earned their way, and they just so happened to be able. I mean, Senior was able to play long enough, which is great too. I realize there's different sports, but baseball is not easy either. I mean, you're playing 162 days out of 180 or whatever.
You're playing. That's just days playing.
Exactly.
And think about it, that's in a baseball. In a calendar year, you've got 365 days. That's almost 50% that you're playing baseball.
Yep.
That's not including spring training, your travel days,
playoffs,
days off. I mean, dude, like being a baseball player, like they make a lot more money, and that's why they make that much more money, because they're working a hell of a lot more.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
Just looking at the overall, I mean, think about the guys we have in the NFL right now, whose dads we all know and loved, right? Frank Gore, Marvin Harrison, Antonio Gates, son is coming up here soon. I mean, there's a bunch of guys you can look at. Marlon Humphrey's dad played. I mean, obviously
Joey Porter
Sanders,
Jr.
Christian McCaffrey.
Yeah, Joey Porter Jr. Yeah.
I mean, all these guys you can look at and say, look, I mean, that's how crazy it is to see a father and a son play. Now, baseball, I think, is a little different. Baseball, you can hide as a DH for a while, or you can kind of make your way around and make it last. Basketball, I'll say I'm impressed for LeBron. Obviously, he had Bronny young, but I mean, like, to play this 22 years, I don't care who you are. Like, I'm not a LeBron fan, but I'll give him his roses. The guy has played and he's been relevant for 22 years. The NBA. Yep. That's hell on your joints.
And I think if he I heard this morning, if he plays next year, he'll break the record, because right now I think he tied the record with Vince Carter for most seasons in the NBA. And so I guarantee you he's going to play at least one more year, because he'll want to break that record. And I didn't see the game last night, But from what I heard, he didn't look like he looks like he can play at least one more year unless he gets injured or something this year. But
welcome to load management 101.
Well, yeah, exactly. Well, yeah.
But so look, I think it's fascinating to watch in that respect. But I think it's to all of our point. What I'll say is this: with nepotism, which is a weird topic to talk about on a sports show, but it is what it is, right? For me, I look at it this way. If I build a business, I want to give it to my son, that's one thing. A player coming to a franchise and getting his son a job, that's kind of weird. Like, it's different. If I put my blood, sweat, and tears to a company, I want to give it to my son. Oh, you know what? I feel like I kind of earned that.
But what's different is that LeBron doesn't own the Lakers.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah,
that's what I'm saying.
Exactly.
Like if LeBron
he's an employee himself.
Like go, and don't be wrong. As a general manager, I love when my employees refer their family members to work for us because I want my team to be cohesive. But when you're talking about being the elite of the elite in the entire world, playing the NBA with limited roster spots, it just rubs me the wrong way. And I know I'm not alone in that one, but it's one of those tough to swallow a little bit. But speaking of tough to swallow, TJ.
Oh, good Lord.
Ooh, geez, it must be about the Cowboys.
No, this is about them Horns getting that SEC wake-up call from Georgia this past weekend. And honestly, a very good game. I'll say this. Texas showed fight. I give Sark credit. I give the boys credit. But they came up short. And that was their first, I'll call major test in SEC play.
Yes.
And it's not the end. Texas is still a playoff team. They should be a playoff team. They're one of the best top 5 teams easily in the country right now, possibly the best team in the country. TJ, I want to ask you first, how are you feeling coming out of that game as a Longhorn fan?
So I've got mixed feelings and emotions because, that it was funny because I think it was like the first quarter we were down like 14-0. So I turned it off and I was like, yep, I'm not watching this. This is not Texas football. This is not what I'm used to during the season. And, then I would get a text message like, hey, are you watching the Texas games? Like, why? What happened? They're like, oh, they got an interception or they did this. I'm like, I'll jump back on it. And then they just get, beat down again. Like Georgia would run it down their throats. I think so. Just watching the game alone, I think one, it was overhyped. I mean, yes, it's 2 great teams. It was a top 5 matchup.
Mm-hmm.
And I think this was a great game to watch. Do I think it should have been a nightcap game? I don't think so. I think if you play this kind of, maybe midday, like a 3:00 game, I think it'd be better. Because there were a bunch more games I feel like should have been a nightcap game. But, I think this was the punch in the mouth that I think Texas needed to get off the high horse for the time being, because when we lost that number 1 to Bama, everybody's like, oh, Texas lost the number 1 to Bama, but will they ever beat Bama? Yeah, we beat them last year.
Right.
See, I think, I kind of disagree a little bit. I think, Texas, even though they were down 23-0 at half, that it started the second half, they came out and came back-to-back scores. Almost did not have back-to-back scores because of controversial turnover right in the middle of that game that a lot of people think Georgia got screwed, but it was the right call. It was correct.
Well, and everybody's they swayed it because the water bottles hit the field.
No, that wasn't the case at all. It was just a bad call.
It was a horrible call.
And
by the way,
the thing
was
that
you seen before? Has anyone seen it before? Where the refs literally reverse a announced call on the field after extreme protest? It's the right call. Someone got in the ref's ear, but I've never seen that before, where a ref makes a determined call and completely goes back on it after what's like 5 minutes of deliberation.
Well, they did say that the refs were meeting while that whole bottle fiasco was going on. At least they were trying to, because they had to handle both situations at the same time.
Right.
Yes.
But going back to that Texas, that second score they got after getting the ball back correctly, that if they could have had just one defensive stop, just be able to get 1 3 and out, maybe like a 5 and out, 6 and out, something like that to get the heck out. Troy, what's going on, brother? Yeah, I think Texas just shot themselves in the foot. They are. I think they're good enough to beat Georgia and to hang with them, but they just they kind of wet the bed, and I don't think that's going to affect their playoff chances unless they lose another game.
See, and my thing is too, like watching this game, there was something I noticed, and as a diehard fan of one team, you kind of just pinpoint certain things, and just the laid back, cool personality Quinn Ewers had going against Oklahoma wasn't there against Georgia. Like you could tell first snap when Georgia was putting pressure on him, he goes, "Oh shit. Like this is SEC ball." Like, yeah, we played Bama last year. Bama got to him a couple times, but Georgia
is where the defensive dogs go.
Yes. And he definitely, I'm pretty sure he soiled his pants. And that's why they took him out, put Arch Manning in there. And Arch Manning got a nice lick in there that, do I want to say it was roughing the passer? I'm always going to say that. I'm a Texas fan. So, but, the biggest thing is I feel like this was the punch in the mouth Texas needed. I feel like from here on out, because we still have a good SEC slate, but the big game now that everybody is circling is the Texas A&M game. And that's towards the tail end of the season. But granted, I have a feeling we will see Georgia again. If it's not in the SEC championship, it'll be in the playoffs.
Yeah. So cooking to TJ here, you put back in for you, TJ. Troy asked, is it possible that Manning is better than Ewers? Thoughts?
So I'm divided on this. I'm 50-50. Yes and no. Yes, because, the last name Manning. I will obviously say that right now. The last name Manning, we'll put it out there. But I also think he has a little bit more of a laid-back style of playing quarterback than Quinn Ewers does. Quinn Ewers is more flashy. Like, his throwing, like, he could just dart that ball just standing still. Where Arch Manning has a little bit more pop to it, where he can – if he stands in the pocket and he gets his whole body into it, he throws farther than Quinn Ewers. And they've even said that multiple times. His arm is better than Quinn Ewers. I think with him getting his playing time in, with him being out, getting the wins, underneath his belt, getting SEC ball into him, I think right now, yes, Arch Manning is better than Quinn Ewers, bar none this season. Quinn Ewers needs to wake up after this game and hopefully play better for the rest of the season. But overall, I don't know. It's kind of tough because, we rarely got to see Arch last year. And then when he came in this season, that was all hype. He had great games. And they just, they put him in at that Georgia game at such a bad time where that O-line was just getting destroyed.
Yep.
And, I think if we were in a game where it was, let's say, 40-40 going into overtime and they're like, hey, we need like a Hail Mary full of grace, just bomb the ball. Yeah, I'm taking Quinn Ewers out. I'm putting Arch Manning in because I feel like he's got a little bit more oomph into his passes and he's a little more calm in the pocket.
Look, Arch Manning is going to be phenomenal. We know this. So it's a matter of what happens. And Troy can comment here again, too. And TJ, you and I talked before the show started. If Ewers comes back, but I'm disagree with Troy here. I think Arch goes to Ole Miss. Family legacy there. Lane Kiffin, Jackson Dart's going to the NFL after the season. I could see Arch Manning going to Ole Miss just to beat Quinn Ewers and try and claim the number one overall in the 2026 draft. It wouldn't surprise me one bit.
See, that's the thing, though. Like, and I like that take because you do have a good, Eli played at Ole Miss, so you want to kind of have that family legacy. But he said it himself last year when they were like, "Oh, are you going to transfer out because Quinn is back?" He said, "No, I'm happy at Texas." He goes, "I want to learn." He goes, Sark is making Texas an SEC team, and you can tell that by the way that Oklahoma and Texas both came in at the same time.
But eventually, like what's going to need to happen is Arch is going to need to become draftable, and he's not going to do that riding the pine. And so I think unless your other starting QB bolts for the NFL, that I think Arch Manning will transfer, unless he's the starter moving forward.
I think and Ben, you and I talked about this at the beginning. If Quinn Ewers goes out in the draft this year, he's not a top 5 pick. I don't even think he's first round.
I agree.
I think he's got a lot of learning to do. So I see maybe mid-second, maybe top 3.
Yeah, I was thinking 3rd to 4th round myself.
And it's gonna pop his bubble. And the dude used to have a mullet coming in. He shaved it off. He calmed down and became like the man in Austin. Yeah, I think he's a little too up on his high horse now because all the glitz and glam of Quinn Ewers and the Texas Longhorn. Okay, when it was Arch Manning in the Texas Longhorns, you rarely ever saw him on camera. And if you did see him, he was 10 yards away from Arch Manning because he knew, shit, this kid can take my spot. I need to get myself better. Guarantee you the only reason why Sark didn't play him in those games where Arch started was because he wanted a good quarterback battle. And I'll tell you right now, if Quinn Ewers goes out next game with this oblique injury, I'd put all my trust in Arch Manning. And that'll solidify.
He's earned it. The guy's earned it.
Oh, yeah.
Like Caleb Williams.
We'll get there in a second, Brad. I'll correct you shortly. But that being said, the SEC builds up to one of, again, games of the week this week that I thought would have been a trash game this point in the season coming into the year. LSU will be going to College Station to play A&M this weekend. And if that's not the game of the week, I don't know what. Look, I'm going to the Wisconsin-Penn State game. I'm going to miss this game live. But LSU and A&M is now they're the only 2 undefeated teams in the SEC remaining. And
I thought LSU lost. The only remaining undefeated in the
both
SEC
teams have lost, but they're undefeated in SEC play.
Oh, SEC play.
Sorry, I should clarify that comment. So you have right now, if the season ended right now, this is the SEC championship.
Yes,
that's reality. So this game is essentially playing for controlling their own destiny for who can play the SEC championship. As it stands right now, it would be if the winner would play Georgia, most likely. I mean, which is, again, a tiebreaker that I don't know how it works out, but it gets really funky. Who's playing Atlanta this year? Only God knows. Yeah. Because it's going to be an absolutely crazy finish here to the season.
Well, I can tell you, it's going to be.
I still pick LSU, by the way.
It ain't going to be Boomer Sooner.
Sorry?
It ain't going to be Boomer Sooner because they just shot themselves in the foot this season.
Look,
I also, legit, I think another a sneaky game, good game this week could be Penn State, Wisconsin.
Yeah.
Wisconsin always plays Penn State well, especially at home. And
y'all are missing one of the best games this weekend.
Yeah, I know.
We're getting
there. And then honestly, I could again, not trying to get your hopes too high, but I could see Wisconsin being on upset alert on Penn State.
To me, I'm looking at this saying that as a Wisconsin fan, I'm hopeful, but I won't say I'm expecting a win. Does that make sense?
Yeah, fair.
Yeah.
Like I'm realistic. I understand what we are this year and what we're doing. And Penn State is, in my opinion, a top 10 team in the country right now. But I also know Penn State, and they will lose a stupid game.
Yep.
At least once.
And again, it could be to Wisconsin.
And this game makes a whole heck of a lot of sense when it be that stupid game they lose. Speaking of other games, I'm going to talk about another team I know TJ loves, and that's Navy. Freaking Navy is undefeated and 24th ranked, hosting Notre Dame this weekend. That's going to be fire in Annapolis. I mean, this is a game to watch at 11 o'clock.
See, and the good part about it, too, is it's not even in Annapolis, so we don't have to riot. It's in Jersey.
Why is it in Jersey?
Neutral field.
Interesting. Okay.
Because this is because Navy does not have a massive stadium like all the other good colleges around this area do. They would not be able to hold all the fans for Navy and Notre Dame. So every year they've played, it's always been a neutral site, whether it be M&T Bank, MetLife multiple times, over in Ireland. I think one year they actually played it at Soldier Field.
Correct.
Once.
Yes, all those are correct.
Yeah, so it's being that it's a neutral site game, I like this. Navy has really, and it's funny because beginning of the season, I went to their spring practice, and they're still running the triple option. I'm like, dude, come on now, like what the hell? And then they put kind of like this little mixture in, and when we went, we talked to Brian Newberry, we got to ask him questions, and me being an Annapolitan here in Annapolis, I sat down, I said, hey, what's the difference between you and Ken Niumatalolo? He goes, watch. That's all he said, watch. I said, okay. They win their first game. I'm like, all right, solid. They beat Memphis like 50 something to like 21. I'm like, okay, now this is getting solid.
That's a conference or Big Five or Conference 5, whatever you want to say, team right there. It's decent.
Yeah. And then they go through the rest of the season averaging 48 points a game.
Yep.
Off of a kid who the first 3 games of the season was a Heisman like hopeful. Dude was phenomenal. So
they ain't seen a defense like Notre Dame's yet, though. So I think that's going to be a big problem for them. I think
I agree. I agree because the big thing too that all around Annapolis we've been talking. Oh, screw Notre Dame. Notre Dame fighting words that I shouldn't say on TV.
There we go.
But it's a good rivalry that we have because yes, Army Navy, that's up there. Navy Notre Dame is one of my favorite games of all season because not only is it
so much tradition,
it's a lot of tradition. 2 gold helmets, so you don't know who's got the ball until you see a shiny helmet in the end zone. You're like, oh damn, that's not us. I love this game, and this is going to be. I feel if Navy can pull this out, this will be a statement win.
So here's my take on this one. I think Army Navy could be a game that decides who's in the playoff this year. I think Boise State's got a loss in them, possibly this weekend against UNLV. And Army Navy could decide who wins the American and is at that point possibly undefeated and going for a playoff bid.
The crazy thing about this, okay, and you have to think about this, Army is in the American Conference now. So if those 2 win out and it goes to the Army-Navy first Army-Navy game here in D.C., the winner of that, those 2 would play the week after in another Army-Navy. That one would be in Annapolis if Navy wins. If Navy does not win, it would be up at Michie Stadium. So it's kind of weird because it takes the pageantry out of an Army-Navy game where it's like once a year, brothers beat the crap out of each other. Now it's like twice a year, brothers beat the crap out of each other. But who's going to win the first fight? So, you want to see that first.
I'm going to go through this a little bit with you, TJ, and this is what I look at. They have Tulane at home. They have the Army-Navy game, and they have this Notre Dame game. That's Navy's hurdles the rest of the season, really. I mean, calling it what it is, Rice, South Florida, East Carolina are not threats.
No.
I mean, barring catastrophe, they're not threats. Navy has 3 games left that matter, in my opinion.
I agree.
And what I see as a common thread here, Notre Dame, Tulane, and Army all play defense.
Yes.
All play good defense. And so I think to Brad's point before, if Navy can beat Notre Dame this weekend, to me, that's a statement that says they are going to be a playoff team this year because that tells me they can beat a top defense, which, make no mistake, Tulane and Army both have right now. So I think you're looking at a spot where Navy this weekend is playing for their college football playoff hopes. And I don't think that's hyperbole. I think that's realistic.
I agree.
But going down the line here a little bit, guys, Nebraska's bouncing off a tough loss going to Columbus to play Ohio State. and I'm a Nebraska hater through and through. I fully admit this. But this game also has a little bit of that little asterisk next to it for me, like that this might be that Ohio State letdown. If I'm looking at Penn State, Ohio State, both teams have the games this week where it's a little bit of it means more than Nebraska. Ohio State doesn't care. Ohio State does not care about playing Nebraska this weekend. Nebraska's trying to win their season back. They beat Ohio State. They're relevant. And that's Matt Rhule's triumphant return to college football at that point. If I'm Ohio State, I'm watching careful. 25.5-point favorites with a 48.5 over on this game. Basically, they're saying that Ohio State's going to house them and bad. I think that Raiola needs to come out and play strong for Nebraska, but it's not impossible, and we could see an interesting game in Columbus in that 11 o'clock hour as well. What do you guys think?
It's at the shoe, right? If I'm hearing you right.
Yeah, it's at the shoe.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Matt Rhule, I love watching Nebraska play. I don't know, man. I'm not feeling the fire with Nebraska right now. I think they're going to come in. Now, do I think they're going to put up a fight? Of course. I mean, you go into a bar fight, you're going to want to put up a fight. But I don't know, man. I think Ohio State they're going to look at Matt Rhule. They're going to laugh and point at him and be like, dude, this is how you got to play football. You know, just because you have a quarterback that looks like Patrick Mahomes and, he idolizes Patrick Mahomes doesn't mean he's Patrick Mahomes. Like, this kid has to find himself as a quarterback in this, he's a young kid. This is if he can do it, this is his time to shine. But I don't know. In the shoe,
that's a tall glass of water.
Yeah. I get it. I'm just saying, to me, look at this game, it's still at face value. If I'm Ohio State, I'm probably saying the same thing you guys are.
Okay, so a lot of times I always based on like how good games could be based on ticket resale prices. So I'm looking at these so it says Nebraska to Ohio State. You could get it for tickets as low as 36. It's not the lowest Big Ten game this week though. Tickets as low as $11 for Rutgers at USC.
I believe that.
Ugh.
Well, I can tell you, I paid $90 for my tickets to go to see Wisconsin Penn State this weekend. So that's.
You're going to be at that game?
I'll be there. Yep.
Oh, nice, dude.
My son, I gave my son one game to pick, and he picked that game to go to this year. So I said, all right, we'll go.
Heck yeah.
Now it's funny you say that because I got tickets for this was 2 weeks ago, the Maryland Northwestern game. Do you know how much that cost me for 2 tickets? $190 a ticket.
$190
a ticket. Yes.
Where were you sitting?
Nosebleed.
Oh dang.
Because they're just like, first of all, it was a Friday night game. It was, big deal for College Park.
Yep.
Then I looked the week after, that was their homecoming. USC was in town. And I was like, dude, I kind of want to go see USC play. I could have got those tickets for $10 a pop.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's USC's an enigma to me. Like, they're in LA, they're a major program, but those fans don't travel and the tickets don't sell. It's just weird. One team that I'm very impressed this year, and Brad, I want to get your feelings a little bit on this before we go to the NFL. And I'm going to do 2 more games for you anyway, I guess. But Indiana, possibly with the hire of the century, getting Cignetti into Bloomington. This is incredible. The Hoosiers right now are set to be, in my opinion, the upsetting force in the Big Ten. They've been insane this year. And
it's been a while.
I don't remember an Indiana team being this good.
Yeah, ever. I still think they're a little overranked in all honesty. It is really neat to see the Hoosiers have some football success because they've really legitimately attempted to go for some hires that they thought would work, and they saw that you would have short-term success, but they were quick to move off of them. I think Indiana has all the resources as any other major Big Ten university in regards to funding, NIL, attractiveness, etc., facilities. They've just never had the personnel in place, I believe, in order to make their football program a major player in the game. And so again, I don't know if this is a flash in the pan like most good IU teams, or not. If there's any sustained success, that's yet to be determined. But a lot of people here are enjoying it. College game day is going to be in Bloomington this weekend. I think it's going to be a little tough because you're starting QB Rourke. He just had a minor thumb procedure. He's going to be out for a week or two. So bottom line is, it's going to be tough.
My question is there a cannon in Bloomington? Do they have cannons? Do they fire off cannons?
I don't believe so, no. Okay,
good. Keep that away from Pat McAfee, please. He seems to just almost die off of cannons every time.
Oh yeah, that's the WWE with the pyros and stuff in it.
Oh man, okay. So I'm gonna really quick story because this is funny as hell. I'm in Baltimore and we're going to CFG Arena, which is the big arena that they always have like everything at. We get a call. I go down there. Pat McAfee's down there. So he was still with the WWE at the time. Pat McAfee walks in. I gave him a high five. I said, "Hey, man," I said, "I'm a huge fan of your show. I love, what you do here." This man walks up to me. He goes, "Oh, like who's your football team?" I said, "Oh, Texas Longhorns." He goes, "Oh, I need to get a belt buckle. Where can I get one?" I said, "Go to Aerie." He goes, "Oh, I already got one." And he has one. It says Pat motherfucking McAfee. And I was like, I need one of those.
Right.
Dude he is the coolest guy you will ever meet on the street. Like everybody's like, "Oh, he's a prick." Dude, he's the coolest guy I've ever met. And when he saw like what we were doing, he actually bought all of us lunch. And he said, "Yeah, man, lunch is on me." We went to Chipotle. He bought us whatever we wanted. And I was like, "Dude, this is awesome." Dude is phenomenal guy.
Dude's legit, man.
He's awesome.
I had to see him a few months ago at SmackDown here in Green Bay, and like he literally got the whole arena to sing "Happy Birthday."
I heard about that.
It was awesome. So, but anyway, look, other games this weekend. Sneaky good game. Illinois at Oregon.
God, I hope Illinois just beats the crap out of Oregon. I hate Oregon. I hate Dylan Gabriel.
I'm not that strong on it, but 21.5 point line with a 54.5 over. Look, Oregon should win this game for all intents and purposes.
Brad, you're muted.
They're the more talented team. But Illinois has been feisty as all get out all season. And it's hard to deny what Illinois is bringing to the table right now. Credit to Bielema. He's doing a good job coaching down there. I hate to say that out loud, but he's doing a good job with Fighting Illini. But that's a CBS 2:30 game, and rightfully so. It's going to be a heck of a game and worth watching. The other game at the same time slot that I want you guys to take on is Missouri at Alabama. The reason I bring this up, Missouri is a ranked opponent coming in, top 15 team to start the year, top 10 team to start the year. Bama's like, look, the state of Alabama was just about on fire last weekend when they lost another game. Now, if Bama loses this weekend to Missouri, and by the way, they go to LSU next week, 2 weeks from now, to go play in Tiger Stadium. Bama's losing 3 games this year, and I am here for it.
And Nick Saban comes back.
I'm here for it.
Nick Saban comes back.
Like, literally, Tuscaloosa was ready to kick DeBauer and his family out of Alabama already last weekend, and it's hilarious to me. Like, look, I'm a Packers fan. I'm calling them entitled. It's ridiculous. So,
yeah, I think there is a legit possibility that if Alabama loses another game, that they're going to be sitting on the outside of this playoff this year.
Yes, I agree 100%, and it's I can't take anything away from the team that they've played. Like Tennessee was a great game. There were a lot of it was back and forth. I feel like it was a great game.
But with 3 losses within the SEC, though, there's going to be way too many 1 and maybe even 2 loss teams that are going to be better than that.
Well, and I feel like I can't say this truthfully, but it seems like, and anytime there's a team that moves away from a coach that's been there for so long, and they've had a tradition, or like they've won so much, that first year of that new coach, it could be
it's tough.
It could be one of those starlit years where you're like, okay, cool, we're going undefeated, we're going to go win something, or you could lose a couple games and people are like, dude, we want the old coach back. That ain't going to happen. For example, Navy lost Coach Kennedy Montalillo, right? Brian Newberry comes in, crap seasons. He's killing it now. Ken's over at San Jose State, beat Air Force. Tradition, awesome, cool. I'm happy with that. Now you got I can't even think of the Alabama head coach name.
DeBauer.
Thank you.
Yep.
He comes in after Saban, and people are like, dude, we want Saban back. Saban says he doesn't want to come back. He's done.
Yeah, he'd be fooled to come back.
So I think I say this right now. I'm happy Bama's losing. My buddy Nate probably watching this right now. I'm sorry, I love you, but I'm happy Bama's losing. Give them next year when they can figure their shit out. They will be up there. I think next year you're going to see, honestly, I'm going to say Texas, Bama. I think LSU, if they can pull something together. And honestly, Missouri, Tennessee, I think this is their hype year. This quarterback really hasn't proved anything to me. Now, again, I don't watch Tennessee. I don't care because they're not the real UT. It's always going to be Texas is the real UT. Rocky Top
bring
sucks.
Bring it, Ball fans. Bring it.
Rocky Top sucks. And that's cool. You guys beat Bama. So did we last year. And if we played Tennessee this year, we would show them who the real UT is.
Congratulations to Kennesaw State getting their big upset.
Oh, they just beat Liberty.
So that's a big one. But look, this is where I'm going with this, is that I feel like you missed Georgia for one thing. You can't ignore Georgia in that picture. I have been saying, and I will continue to say that Venables is fool's gold in Oklahoma. He looks like this year. But Elko might be the real deal in A&M. And I hate saying that out loud. I hate to say that out loud. But Elko looks legit. And don't forget Ole Miss with Lane Kiffin. They're always going to be relevant there as well, even this tough SEC. But the team I want to touch on right now plays your Texas Longhorns this weekend, and that's the Vanderbilt Commodores, who beat Bama earlier in the year. Do they get another home stunner and possibly give Texas 2 losses in a row? I say no chance in hell. What do you guys say?
You know
no
what?
Way,
I'm going to let you guys
Jose.
go first. Yeah, I'm going to let you guys go first.
No.
So,
no, it's no. I mean, there's no way that Texas is going to be. No, they're coming off a loss. They're going to be focused. They're going to put Vanderbilt back out of the top 25.
I agree wholeheartedly with you, Brad. Just listening to, I watch all the Texas stuff on YouTube. They talked to Sark, and he goes, that loss really put us in a spot where we needed clarity on who we are as an organization or as a school, because the hype's always been Texas at number 1. Cool. This is, showing whatever. I think this is going to be the game where, one, I hate to say it, I think Quinn Ewers may step down a little bit and give Arch Manning that, like, hey, this is your team next year, so I'm going to play, let's say he goes to about halftime, and then you see Arch Manning come in. That's where we're going to see everything go. I don't think Vanderbilt would beat us. If they would, it would be off of stupid errors. The biggest thing is our offensive line did not look good, so hopefully they got themselves back together. I hope we don't lose, but in the off chance that we do, cool.
Good for Vandy, I guess, right?
Yeah.
Look,
you beat Bama, you beat Texas. Good for you.
Well, I will say I think with their upset against Bama earlier in the year, I don't think Texas is going to be looking past them after seeing what they did against Bama.
Not at all.
I think maybe in the past, if they hadn't had that upset against Bama, maybe you're looking at a game where you look past them. But that kind of put them on the map for an upset alert kind of thing, I think, for Texas.
So Ben, you've been asking me questions, so I'm going to ask you this question because you're the SEC guy. I'm new into the SEC this year. I've been Big 12 for years since I've been a Texas fan. Looking at the two teams that came in, okay, Oklahoma and Texas, what's the difference between both of those organizations, and why is Texas a better SEC team than Oklahoma? I know the answer, but I want to see what you say.
It's their coach. I mean, look, end of the day to me, Sarkisian's is a better coach, first and foremost. Oklahoma does not have the defense they had in the early 2000s when they were challenging for natties. Right now, Texas has a complete team. They have that money support behind them, and Texas has the better coach. I think, again, Venables to me is still not a good – he's maybe a good, but he's not a great coach. And he's not going to get Oklahoma where they want to go. And so look at this right now. Lincoln Riley had Oklahoma go in the right direction. When he left, that was to me the kind of the death of Oklahoma football overall. Sarkisian was the right hire. Herman was not. I thought Herman was. He was not. But Sark has proven everyone that he is the guy. And he probably would have been the guy at USC if he didn't have a drinking problem. But he did. And the guy's bounced back and he's learned.
I have my notes here, okay?
Yep.
And I've watched both Oklahoma and Texas. When Texas was recruiting, when they said they're going to the SEC, they were looking at guys outside of the South. They looked at some of the big boys. They looked at, SEC. Sark knows SEC football. He was with Bama. He knows what it's like to be in the SEC. Brett Venables built his team to play in the Big 12. He thought he could take a Big 12 style school and jump into the SEC and make a name for himself. He did for the first couple of weeks. Don't get me wrong. He really did. I was actually a little excited for this because going into the Texas-Oklahoma game, which is the biggest game for us every year, I was like, okay, two SEC schools are going to do this. In my eyes, Oklahoma never should have left the Big 12. They are built for the Big 12 because that is a power Southern conference, Texas and, that little Midwest Texas area. I don't think that they're ready for it. I think what he needs to do is learn from Texas. He probably has, knowing that he just got walloped by them. And he needs to learn what Sark does is he looks into speed and physicality. That is the biggest thing in the SEC. For the Big 12, it is find me the fattest lineman you can have who can block for 5 seconds and open up a hole. SEC is more than just running. They have passers, Quinn Ewers, Arch Manning. I don't know this kid that played for Oklahoma. He's like a dual threat quarterback, but he didn't show me anything in the game.
Right.
I think SEC should really rethink about OU playing with them. OU needs to go back to the Big 12. I'm sorry. They need to play with Coach Sanders and get taught a lesson.
Tell you what, I'll give you a hot take here right away. OU misses the bowl season this year. And let me 100%. Tell you why. They've got Ole Miss at Ole Miss. They play Maine, who cares? But then they're at Missouri. They play Bama, and they're at LSU. Oklahoma is losing every one of those SEC games. Their lone SEC win this year will be Auburn. That's the only SEC win that Oklahoma is going to have this year. So,
and I agree. I agree with you 100%. And coming into the SEC, I'll be honest with you, I didn't think we were going to have this good of a season at all. I didn't think, I'll be honest with you, we kind of also got kind of a slack schedule. I mean, the only good SEC team that I felt like in the beginning of the year was Georgia. Now, Texas A&M is showing something. Vandy showed a little bit. Outside of that, I wasn't really impressed with the schedule we got. I wanted that. Welcome to the SEC. You're playing LSU, Bama, Georgia, Tennessee, like all the big name SEC schools. We kind of got that, like, here, let's just give you a little sample size where Oklahoma got the games. They got the games they wanted, and they're not showing anything. They're showing that they are a Big 12 conference school that said, hey, Texas leaves, I'm leaving too.
Oklahoma's Arkansas. Call it what it is. Oklahoma's now Arkansas.
100%. I agree with you. And now that Texas is playing Arkansas again, that's a rivalry that I missed.
Yep.
I missed that rivalry and the Texas A&M rivalry. But that's my say.
Well, I'm going to move us over to the NFL, guys. We're getting into 10 o'clock hour here in the Central. I'm going to move us into this. So, a lot of great games this last weekend, but I want to look forward here in the interest of time. Arizona, Miami, to me, is a sneaky, interesting game now with Tua possibly coming back.
Yes.
If Tua plays, do we see a dynamic Dolphins team again? Because I'm really curious. Like, I'm looking at this, and when Tua's played, the Dolphins are all world. When he's been hurt, they look like absolute trash. Is Tua that stinking good?
All right, I'm going to be dead honest with you. I don't think Tua is that. I think Tua was good until he became a character with the VeggieTales. After that, I don't think he's that good. His conference, like his news conference he had when they were talking to him about, hey, how do you feel coming back? He's like, oh, I'm ready for this. He's like, they were like, do you worry about coming back? He's like, well, I worry about driving. I get into a car accident, I'm screwed. That's not what we're asking. Like, are you physically able to come back? Like, are you going to be able to stand in the pocket or move like you did before? My answer to that is no. Yes, he has weapons on the outsides. I'm going to be honest with you. I think his first good lick coming back is going to determine if Tua is here to play or do we need to make him a character on the VeggieTales? I mean, seriously.
Fair enough. Bacon, what do you think?
I am, well, first of all, I'm completely against him coming back. I'm sorry. I thought to begin with, he should have hung it up. I know he's a big family man. This dude's gonna, God forbid, I hope he doesn't end up getting killed on the field. I mean, some of these guys, you need to almost force them. And, they were talking about that today on the radio, and I don't know the legalities of it, but if I were the ownership, well, I shouldn't say, if I were the ownership of the Miami Dolphins, I'm sure I want him to come back because of all the money I have invested in him. But if money wasn't an issue, I would be telling him, you know what, bud, you need to hang it up, or let somebody, if somebody else wants to take a chance on him. I think, to answer your question though, Ben, I think he's good, but it does surprise me how much of a drop off there has been since he left. I mean, like you said, they are trash. They're an awful team, almost as bad as New England, for crying out loud, and that's saying a lot, So it is surprising, but then again, you look at their backups and you're like, okay, they don't have anybody for backups either. So I mean, that does tie into it too, and you have the impact that you have on your teammates and the belief they have in you, and all that stuff kind of adds in there, or factors in there, I should say. But no, I don't believe he's that much better where he should have this kind of an impact on the team. But I do think when he comes back, whenever that is, whether it's this week or I mean, it could be the Thanksgiving, night against the Packers or whatever in Lambeau. Who knows when it is? I think it will have an impact on the team in terms of giving them a lift. But I agree with TJ. You know, I do think that first hit is going to really be indicative of how much he's in. Is he all in, or is he just trying to get back there, or what? But I don't think this is going to end well, and I hope I'm wrong. I hope that he can play another couple of years and then maybe just decide to hang it up once this contract is up or whatever. But I just, you know, like I said, if he plays at Lambeau, what if it's cold? What if the ground is frozen? He takes a hard hit and smacks his head off that Lambeau Field turf. I mean, I don't know. We don't know enough. We know enough to know that
it's dangerous.
It's dangerous, and that every subsequent concussion you have is that much worse. And we know how susceptible he's been to concussions. I mean, how many times do you have to see him seize up after banging his head before you go, wait a minute, and the NFL needs to start looking at this going, wait a minute, do we have any kind of legal? I mean, the NFL only cares about the shield. We all know that. They only care about money. What's going to happen if, God forbid, he ends up getting paralyzed or worse on the field from getting, what is that going to do to the NFL?
Well, and to the player who does it. I mean, imagine when the guy who makes that hit.
Well, yeah, exactly. I mean, that too. If you make that hit, even if it's a clean hit, you're I mean, I don't remember when Damar Hamlin was the one that hit him on the most recent concussion, but I don't think he felt very good about. I have to ask Troy if they talked about that at all on the radio after that week after that game. But I just, there's a lot of things that I don't think people are really thinking through before they just go, hey, let him back. It's his life, and yeah, I get that, but whatever. Anyway, Brad, what do you think about? We're talking about Tua.
I think players have gone through concussions like that in the past and still came back and played well. I mean, just think of, again, I don't want to be like, a blaster in the past, but Aikman and Young and Brad Johnson, dudes like that, again, Brad Johnson's not like Hall of Famer, but he's still a good quarterback in his time. Yeah. So dealt with. So I think that, there are dudes that just get them easy and they recover and come back and play. And they're just more susceptible than others. It's just, I think it's just the nature of people being different. But, is there a likelihood that over time that he could become a little more mushy in the head? I mean, sure. I mean, there's no doubt about that. CTE is real. They've brain examinations have proven that. And, so, I mean, I think good for him that he's taken the time to actually be on the IR for a month and take the time in order to make sure that he is good. So, yeah, I think let him go.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, I can speak as a guy who's had too many concussions, and my takes may prove that a little bit. But in all seriousness, I mean, they're scared.
It's just, but you can then say like like an offensive lineman who's had too many knee surgeries. I mean, I understand that a concussion is more at the head and cognitive function than a body part, but still, I still think that there is a very direct comparison.
And I'll say this as a lineman, we probably hide concussions better than anyone else on the field.
I agree.
Linemen have more concussions than he will ever know because no one's watching us get up off the turf. We're just the big wobbly dudes, so they only notice us wobbling. I mean, it is what it is. And I can tell you my concussions came in the trenches. They weren't on big explosive plays. They were in the trenches getting knocked on a trap play. I drove through a guy's shoulder pads coming out of a 4-point stance and put my face mask right in his shoulder pads, and I got concussion. Those things happen. But to your point, Brad, some people are more likely to get them. It's just scary. As a guy, and we know now it's scarier than it was even 25 years ago.
Yeah.
But switching gears a little bit, the Bengals are wrapping this conversation too, ironically enough, I guess. But the Bengals and Eagles. Bengals are actually favored this weekend in their game against the Eagles by 2.5 points at home. This is an interesting game for me. Brad, using your index, 173 is the cheapest ticket right now on the secondary market. the Bengals both these teams are kind of enigmas, right? They've both had they've not looked themselves. We thought they'd both be better. They haven't been better. Philly's getting the wins where Cincinnati lost some more, but this is an interesting game.
I think Cincy can take this game.
Philly's
been, other than Saquon, who's been playing phenomenal football. What in the hell? Every game I see Saquon Barkley play in Philadelphia, I think the New York Giants are retarded. Why did they not pay him every single cent that he wanted? But anyway, so
because they were paying, I'll answer that, Brad, for you, because they were spending their money on John Runyon, the offensive lineman,
and Daniel Jones, by the way.
Yeah. Anyway,
back in the league.
Yeah, you still could have paid Saquon. I know. It's anyway. But I think that Philly's just been unpredictable. Jalen Hurts has been up and down. He's been turning over the ball. More recently, less than earlier in the season. So maybe they're getting in a groove. But again, I still think that this is the time Joe Burrow is going to dial his team in offensively, and they're going to, October, November, early December, all Cincinnati does is put up points. That's all they do for this next 6-week stretch, and I think it's going to happen. I think Cincy wins.
So Philly had the Bengals, 2 Commanders, 2 Cowboys, a Ravens, and a Steelers game left in their schedule. Dare I say the Eagles can miss the playoffs this year with the way the Commanders are playing, and it wouldn't surprise me one bit. The Eagles have talent. I'm not denying that. I love their draft this year, but the Eagles, the way I'm seeing right now, there's a lot of losses in that calendar right now. And we'll talk about the Cowboys here in a second, but the Commanders games are no joke right now. They go to LA, to Baltimore. There's a lot there to kind of unpack if you're an Eagles fan, saying, I wouldn't feel good, especially after last year, how they finished. They finished like absolute trash last year. So I feel like we're kind of looking at Jalen Hurts unraveling in front of our eyes.
Yeah, I just think Philly's just, offensively, they ride or die with Jalen Hurts, period. Their skilled position players are all phenomenal. So, yeah.
Yeah, I would agree. I think Cincinnati wins this one, and I think they might even win it a lot easier than the 2.5 point spread. I could see them winning this by 10 points, even maybe 2 touchdowns. And I'll say this also, not to always bring it back to the Packers, but that Packers loss at the beginning of the year isn't looking nearly as good as the whole time after they lost that game. I kept saying, "Oh, Philly's a good team," and now you're watching it like, I don't know, maybe that wasn't a very good loss. I don't know, but TJ, what do you think about that game?
I think the Bengals started coming around when they played the Ravens.
Mm-hmm.
And that was a massive test for the Bengals right there. They held with the Ravens. The Ravens are a stud of a team this year because they have one player, but that's okay. We'll keep it at that. But
come on, man. They have 3.
I hear it every day. I hear it every day. I'm tired of it. But I think the Bengals, the Bengals are hitting their strides where they need to. The game against the Browns really had me scared a little bit because, yes, the Browns came back. It was 21-14. I thought this would have been a higher scoring game. The Eagles, on the other hand, it's almost like they have a hangover with all the guys they lost last year. Mm-hmm. Jason Kelce was is the best center in the NFL. You lose him, you get another center in here. Snaps aren't the same. The ball came out quicker. Jalen Hurts was able to, have that ability to sit in the pocket a little bit longer. That offensive line is beat. Beat. So I think if you want to say this game is going to be one in the trenches, 100%. That offensive line needs to protect him, and that's the way they'll win. I don't think they will. Cincinnati's hitting a stride that they need to right now. I take Cincinnati on this one, and I think they're definitely going to. I think this is going to be a good game. I'd say at least 35-21. And Saquon's going to be the 3 scores alone. I think he's going to have 2 rushing touchdowns and a reception. because that's all they're going to have.
Fair enough. I think it's a little closer than that. I'm going more in the 27-21 range for me personally. But I'm going to go with the Bengals here as well in Paycor Stadium. The next game also has my attention here is Atlanta at Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay has lost their top 2 receivers last week to injury. A team that was, frankly, looking like a legitimate contender for that division, now playing their other contender for the division in the Atlanta Falcons. And I got to say, the line reflects that reality. Atlanta is 2.5-point favorites in Tampa Bay this weekend. And I think Baker might be cooked now with no receiving threats to go to. What do you guys think?
So I don't think Baker's really cooked per se. They have a decent backfield. So if they can get to like that ground and pound like it used to be with Mike Allstott, which they could definitely do it. I mean, they have the ability to do it, on the front lines and everything like that. Baker, they'll have something, there's going to be a receiver that we don't know names of that may shine on this game. But man, I don't know. Atlanta's really starting to strive a little bit more. They're starting to slow down. They're starting to really figure themselves out because, they had all this, hype of Kirk Cousins coming in. You draft Penix Jr. Cool. Well, what's that done for you right now? Not a lot, because that hype was huge. Now you're getting into, okay, you bring Matthew Judon onto that defense. He solidifies a good defense that, they definitely needed something back there. He helps out. I don't want to say he helps out a ton, but he helps out enough to where, he can help that defense run. It's going to be an offensive game for Atlanta. I think that they have more power, yes, but I don't think it's going to be a blow-away game that we're expecting after losing Evans and Chris Godwin. I mean, that was bad. I honestly think this is going to be a close game. NFC South games are always close, even if it's the trash league. Dude, I think this is going to be a 21-14 game, honestly.
21-14 Falcons?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think losing both Evans and Godwin, well, Godwin for a season, Evans for at least the next week or two. It's slim pickings at the wide receiver position. You got Sterling Shepard, who has a little bit of experience from the Giants, but you got Jalen McMillan, who was a draft, he was a 3rd-round draft pick last year, so that's not terrible. Cade Otton, he's been a mid tight end. We'll see what he does when he steps up. But if those young players are able to step up and even get a little bit of separation, Baker's been playing well. I mean, you got to really kind of even. I thought he was like a fringe runner for MVP at least through this part of the season for carrying the Buccaneers so well this year.
And I'll put this out there. Cooper Kupp has been widely rumored to be available in trades. It would not shock me if Kupp lands in Tampa Bay right now, because this defense is legit. To your point, those young running backs are coming along. But it won't help them this week. This week they got Bijan Robinson, Drake London, Kyle Pitts, Kirk Cousins, and the Atlanta Falcons come to wreak havoc. So it's definitely interesting.
Now, do we know? And I missed the last part of that game last week. What did Godwin go down with?
Dislocated ankle.
So he's out for sure for the rest of the year.
He had ankle surgery.
Oh shoot. Okay, well I gotta drop him here real quick for my okay. All right. Anyway, yeah, I'll say this. I think because it's in Tampa, that they'll keep it close, but I would agree. I just don't think he has enough weapons. And so I'll say 24-20.
Okay.
Atlanta. So.
Next thing I want to touch on is Buffalo at Seattle. Seattle's kind of the bipolar team this year. They have their ups, they have their downs. Buffalo has been looking dang good with Amari Cooper coming in, looking good right away too. The Bills look legit, in my opinion. I mean, right now I'm looking at this. The Bills are 3-point favorites. And I think they cover fairly easily in this game. I'll give them a 10-point win, 31-21. Up in Seattle, but I guess, Bacon, we'll start with you this time. What's your take on the Buffalo at Seattle game this weekend?
Well, Seattle was one of those teams. I mean, I feel like ever since they lost in Detroit, 42-29, they just, I don't even know who the hell they are. I mean, they're a completely opposite team. So, and I like, Amari Cooper joining Buffalo, even though it's in Seattle. I'll keep this short. I do think. What did you say? What the spread was? I didn't hear you.
3 points toward the Bills right now.
Toward the Bills. Yeah, I could see that. I mean, Seattle always plays tough at home, I think, for the most part. So I think it'll be close, but I would still take the Bills, maybe 24-17.
Okay. Brad?
I think that's about the same score that I would go to. Maybe a tick higher, maybe like a 28-24 and still be able to cover.
Okay. TJ?
I was a little upset that Amari Cooper went to Buffalo. I thought he was coming back to Dallas. Apparently he's got bad blood with Dallas now. That's a great fit for him though. So, and I'm very, very happy he went there. Seattle's defense is hit and miss. The game against Atlanta last week showed a little bit of promise here and there. They're very young on that front end of that defense. And, I don't think, youth is great in NFL, but, first year guys, not really. I think Buffalo takes this one, and I think they're going to take it big because you get Amari Cooper for a full week. He's not just here for like a couple days, gets a few plays and say, hey, you're running a post, whatever. He knows the whole offense now. I think Buffalo takes this. I say 35-17.
Okay. There's 2 more games I want to touch on. And one's a Sunday night game I'm going to touch on first, and I'll hit the game of the week last. Dallas is at San Francisco Sunday night. This used to be a classic rivalry. Both these teams are down right now, and both are kind of looking lost, if we're being honest, right? I saw a meme this week that the healthiest wide receiver in San Francisco got shot in the chest a month ago. And it's not far from the truth. So, I mean, we're looking at this, and it's Brock Purdy. We talked about it a lot last year, and I'll give Brock some credit here. Overall, I'm not blaming their losses on Brock. He's not played as well as last year, but it's not the reason they're losing. That defense has not been what they're supposed to be. The San Fran defense to me has been the letdown more than the offense, even based on the health of the defense compared to the offense. So I'm looking at this game right now. I'm saying this is kind of going to be that gut check, I think, for both teams to say, hey, do you want to play football this year? Yes or no? And I think the loser here starts looking at next season. I have San Francisco winning this one. They're 4-point favorites at home. I think they win by a touchdown. And I think that McCarthy starts feeling that seat get really warm. Brad, let's start with you in this one.
I gotta agree, man. Dallas has been mightily disappointing this year. I think more specifically on defense. They've been just letting teams pass up and down and run up and down the field. They're one of the worst defenses in the league right now. And it's I'm not saying it just because I'm being a hater. It's because it's statistically true. So it's hard to do that with no running game to help Dak Prescott. I think he's capable of making all the passes in the passing game. But there's really just no running game to complement it at the moment. And so I think Dallas is in a big trouble. I think that they may be at risk of finishing third, maybe even fourth in the division if they don't pick up a win against the Giants later in the year.
By the way, Brad, at that point, Stacey Elliott, Zeke's dad, threw out a $10,000 offer to whoever can show him video that his son has washed with film from this year. Sign me up, brother. I'll take that $10K all day long. Zeke's washed. But
I think everybody knows that's true. I mean, you haven't you haven't seen or heard him do anything this year. I mean, what has he done this year?
No, Ashton Genty going to Dallas makes a whole lot of sense this offseason.
You guys continue. I'm going to look that up. What has Zeke done?
About as much as I have this year, honestly. That being said, Aaron, before we Cowboy finish this section here, but what is you're taking this game? Niners, Cowboys. What do you think?
Well, yeah, I mean, as much as I hate the 49ers, I'd probably have to lean toward them just because of what a mess Dallas has been, and I don't say that to make fun of TJ's team here or anything like that. They've been so disappointing, with the exception of maybe their home opener or their season opener against Cleveland. Every other game has just been like, what the hell's going on? You expect them to bounce back, and they look even worse than they did the week before. So I would have to say, as much as I want to pick against San Fran, I think this will be like a 23-17 win. I think it'll be close actually, because I with all the injuries, and I would agree with you, and everybody here knows how much of a Brock Purdy hater I've been. But
you have been.
Yeah, Brad, but at the same time, with all the injuries, you can't really necessarily blame them. And I want Dallas to win so badly because frankly, I want to see, what worries me. San Fran is still one of those teams that worries me if they can get healthy, because their division is crap right now. With as bad as they've been, they're still. I mean, I don't even know who the hell is in first place in that division. Is it Arizona? Who is it?
Sure. Yeah, right now you've got the Seahawks at 4-3, Cardinals and Niners at 3-4, and the Rams at 2-4.
Okay. So, but with as up and down as Seattle's been, I'd like San Fran to lose as many games as possible before they start getting healthy again. But like I said, I'd say like 23-17 San Fran. All right, Cowboy. TJ, here you go, buddy. Here you go.
Table set for you, bud. Knock it out of the park.
I'm not very optimistic as a Dallas fan this year. We win, I throw a parade in Maryland and just laugh. We lose, I say, well, there's the season right there. I think this game is a nut up or shut up for Mike McCarthy. I said this in the beginning. His seat's going to get hot if they lose. If he loses the first game against the Commanders, he's gone. I have not been impressed with him this year at all. He's made a lot of changes. He's showing the fact that he can't do this alone and that he cannot run a team without stud coaches. We lost Kellen Moore. Offense went down. We lose Dan Quinn, and the defense just looks like some peewee squad that I could pick up in my backyard and just be like, hey, here's a Dallas helmet. Go out there and try to tackle some 400-pound stud. With this game, though, I'm a little bit optimistic because they don't have – San Fran does not have their core guys. Debo's out. They say he had Ayuk's done. McCaffrey's out. Those are the three guys that we were worried about. Now, come offensively, oh, good Lord, dude. I don't even think we should have paid Dak all that money. CeeDee Lamb really hasn't proven anything to me. And, yes, Zeke Elliott is washed. So give me his dad's number, and I will show him that he is washed.
All right.
So –
and by the way, TJ, look into the schedule here. You're at Atlanta next week. At home against Philly, at home against Houston, which will be a Houston home game essentially with the Steelers going right now. And then you have the Commanders game we're talking about in Washington. There's no way that McCarthy survives Thanksgiving against the Giants. There's none.
So, and here's where – so with this San Fran game, I think it's going to be a very sloppy game. I think the game is going to be one of those games where we look at and we're like, the hell? Like, these two teams have been one of the best two teams in the NFC, the past few years. what happened. I honestly think San Fran comes in, or Dallas goes into San Fran and gets waxed. Not only do I think they get waxed, I think they go on the flight and Jerry Jones has a heart attack. I mean, the dude can't shut up. He runs his mouth so much. I've said this. I mean, you guys have known me for so long. I'm going to continue to say this. Dallas will not be a team until Jerry Jones is gone. That the star on the helmet, like the guy said, it's not a logo, it's our rating. We're a 1-star team. We suck this year. The only happy part I have about this is my boy Demo is on the linebacking core and he's showing out really amazingly. So I'm proud of him for that. Yeah, I think Ricky Pearsall, after getting shot, is going to come out to Dallas and be like, hey, I'm a true thug. I got shot and I can still play.
Look, I got Dallas now as a 6-win team. I didn't like them before the season started. I don't like them right now, if I'm being honest. And I think right now I'll be public for. I don't see them firing McCarthy in the short week before Thanksgiving game, but I'll do one better than you. I'll say the Giants game after Thanksgiving. I think that Turkey Day is McCarthy's undoing. The game of the week pains me immensely to admit. Happens to be with none other than those Chicago Bears.
Bears.
The Bears go to D.C. in the biggest shithole state in the league to play the Commanders, who are playing some of the best football in the league right now. And I'm looking at this game, and the Bears are 3-point favorites on the road. I honestly,
I think that line is there solely because it's looking like Jaden Daniels is trending towards doubtful.
Right. Yep. Mariota played well last week, though. Best he's looked since Oregon.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll say this. To me, this game's a pick 'em without Daniels. With Daniels, it's the Commanders' favorite for me. The Bears, if Brad, you're asking where the Caleb haters are at, I'm still here, but I also acknowledge what he's doing, if that makes sense. I still don't like the guy. I still think he's got it wrong between the ears, but he's playing better than I expected. And I can acknowledge that. I'm if nothing else, I can be honest, right?
Yeah.
The guy has had some good plays. He's had some good moments, but so did RG3. So I just want to see him see it through before I'm going to start crowning him. You want to crown their ass? Crown him. No, but in all seriousness, look, it's to me, the Bears right now in Washington are very, very similar teams. The difference is the Bears are in a better division. You have a rookie quarterback playing well. You have a defense playing very well, and an O-line who's starting to kind of find their way a little bit. The Bears have a little more work to do there, in my opinion, than the Commanders do right now. But in general, the pass rush for the Bears has been there. The secondary has been better than I expected. But this is, for me, that first major test of the Bears' mettle this year. Going to Washington, who's playing well, and see what they can do off a bye week. Eberflus, to me, is still not the answer for the Bears. And that's their bigger weakness than the players. But, again, I'll acknowledge reality here. They're not a bad team. The Bears are not a bad team. And so I'm looking at this, and I really go to my personal feelings aside. This is a last possession wins the game kind of game for me. And I don't know who that is right now, which probably means it's the Bears. So I'm usually wrong otherwise. So I'll call it the Bears pull a Packers of last week and win 24-22 or some kind of stupid score like that in the game this week. Brad, I want you to finish the section off. So Aaron, I'm going to go to you next, actually. What's your take on the Commanders-Bears game this weekend?
Yeah, I would agree with you in that this is definitely their first true big test, especially since Caleb Williams has been playing better. And I would agree also that, yes, I'm still not sold like I think Brad and Combs are as far as that he is the guy, but that's just because I want to see more. I mean, no different really than Brock Purdy, but I will say I think Caleb Williams has more talent than Purdy, does.
Agreed.
But yeah, I would say, I'll make this quick. I do think it comes down to the end, but unlike you, I would say I think Washington, pulls it out. Something like 28-24.
Okay. TJ?
So this is going to be a fun game to watch. I mean, it's going to be down the road. I just looked at tickets. So, hey, Brad, if you want to show up, we can go together. And it's going to be a good game. I think this is going to be the game where Caleb Williams has to show up and show out. That's one of the words that we use for our arena team is SUSO, show up, show out. Jaden Daniels, being week to week, and I think he is doubtful right now. Mariota looked very good as a backup. So I think this is going to be a very fun game to watch, but I think this is the game where Chicago comes in and they have a guy by the name of DJ Moore.
Mm-hmm.
He's a local boy. Anytime that DJ Moore has played at Northwest Field, that's what it's called now, he goes off. The dude's a stud. His family buys a sweet box and everybody's out there. Chicago by 20. I think it's like 44-24.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
But hey, I have to run. My son just woke up. It was great being with you guys. I will definitely try to jump in again when I get the time to come back in. But dude, it's been a blast.
Love having you, TJ. Thank you. And
Yep.
good luck with
Love having you back, buddy.
brother.
Yep, I'll see you guys.
See ya. So, Brad.
Yes.
Wrap this game up for us, please.
Well, I think it's fair to say that both of these teams are on the comeuppance. That they're finally, I think, earning some success by playing again. Even though, yes, they are against other teams that aren't performing as well, but they're doing exactly what they should be doing to those teams, and that's beating their asses. The Bears have been laying the beat down on a few teams that they played this year. Specifically defensively. I mean, the Bears are like second or third in the league in creating turnovers, just behind Green Bay. Offensively, I think they're finally starting to. I applaud Shane Waldron for actually taking criticism from his players to modify the offense in order to change into things that they wanted, that they said that they felt that would go better.
Mm-hmm.
And it's good that they've done that, and you can tell that there's been just a complete difference in how that offense runs. I can't explain it. It's you just see better Bears offense with the personnel that are out there. I definitely think that Caleb is, again, he's still a rookie. He's only 6 games in. He's gonna, like I said, he's gonna still continue to make those mistakes. But I mean, I think something's brewing with Caleb, man. I really do. I think something just like simmer beneath the soil where like he's gonna end up having a huge breakout game that people are just gonna be like, what the fuck? And I just feel it coming, man. I really do. I haven't felt like this with a QB like maybe ever. I mean, just seeing how he plays and how he's been a lot more disciplined over the past month. It's unreal for a rookie quarterback, and to see him going through replays and actually scanning players and then looking for open. You don't see a lot of rookies being able to do that, and so I'm impressed with Caleb. I'm not going to go without choosing my Bears. It's going to be close. I'm going to say 28-27 Bears, but. Again, do I see maybe Washington maybe getting by a field goal? Maybe I think so. It's going to be a tight game. So, but I think if the Bears can win this game, that they've got some favorable matchups going down the next couple of games, because like they play at Arizona and then they're at home against New England. So, I mean, Arizona is a decent team. They're no slouches, but the Bears can beat that team. I think the Bears can beat the Cardinals.
Sure.
So, if they could get that win and get the next possibly 3 in a row, or even 2 out of 3,
mm-hmm.
I think that's very realistic for the Bears, but that's not to say what's coming up after that, because it is not. That's gonna be tough, and I think that's where the Bears are gonna start kind of falling off a little bit, because
and that's where you gotta build, pile up your wins. I mean, where you can, and that way if you hit those tough spots, those tough stretches in your schedule,
because
you got a little bit of a cushion.
Green Bay, Minnesota, Detroit, or San Francisco, Minnesota, Detroit,
Seattle, Green Bay.
Yeah, Seattle, Green Bay. That's the last 8 weeks, 9 weeks.
Yeah. Well, I will say this: as much as I've enjoyed beating up my Packers, beating up on your Bears, it is fun to actually be in a division that is as good as the NFC North is so far this year. I mean,
it's been pretty cool.
The last place team is 4-2. I mean, like that's pretty freaking cool. And I just want to ask before we kind of wrap up. I don't know what Ben has next year, but to touch on what Ben said, Brad, I want your opinion. Because you talked about how the offensive coordinator is making adjustments based on the players' feedback. You talked about how the defense is. What are your feelings on Eberflus? I mean, Ben,
in all honesty, I think that a lot of people give him a bad rap for what was an intentional rebuild process over the past 2 years, and thinking that there was some sort of expectation of wins, because number one, there wasn't, clearly, in Eberflus's first year. That's I don't want to say lame duck year, but that you can't even count that, because that team was the team that was a product of being stripped down, all their players with big contracts traded or released, playing with freaking Joe Schmo, with a roster of nobodies, all kinds of Joes on that roster 3 years ago. So no, I don't think that's fair. I also think to see the improvement from what he had in that scrub team that went 3-13, that got them that number 1 pick, to see the difference from 1 year to the next year, they made growth. They went from 3 wins to 7 wins. So I think that's what some of the personnel, #Justin Fields, that the Bears didn't want, because they knew they were going to get Caleb Williams. So I think that resets the clock for Eberflus. And I think that they're still doing better, even though, no, he's not an offensive coach. But I think that once they get Shane Waldron dialed in there, and I think they're going to be fine. I really do. I think, and not to mention, Eberflus is a hell of a defensive coordinator, and that's exactly what you want in Chicago, because that's a big deal in Chicago, not only with that franchise, but with what happens in the weather and in the style of football the NFC North plays.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, I think Shane Waldron, to your point, could be the savior of Eberflus's career in Chicago, because if that offense did not get to the start it's at right now with the weapons they brought in, I think that could have been the death of him, honestly.
Yeah, I mean, but the thing is, you got to also, I think more credit needs to go to Ryan Poles, the general manager. He's been making solid moves, even though he's made mistakes. Let's be real. Every GM makes mistakes, but he's been able to come off of them pretty quick. Even like right now, there's been a lot of trade rumors for 2 players on the Bears. One is Khalil Herbert, as he's supposed to be our 3rd string running back, but he's barely getting any touches at all. And then also, that guard Nate Davis, that so get that contract off of us and see you later. He hasn't been very good for us. He was decent in Tennessee when we signed him as a free agent, but that was about the best that he was when he signed the dotted line, because he hasn't been very good at all.
No, and all joking aside, like I said before, I'll acknowledge the Bears as being a decent team right now, and that's not something we can say very much the last decade, right? This is a good football team right now.
And I think that's the result of Ryan Poles, like the vision that he had in order to basically do what they did 3 years ago, is to completely wipe it, like from ground zero. you got to completely start over. And they did that, and they did it patiently, and they did it the way you're supposed to do it. They've been able to organically acquire picks and players and stuff like that on very good contracts, very good deals. And I think that I don't think he gets enough credit for pulling all that off, because that was a huge reason as to why the Bears were able to get so many assets at the time that they did.
No, that's fair. Look, so wrapping us up, we're going a long time today, but 4 minutes on high has been our tradition. So I have a video. I'm going to keep myself here. I'm going to start us off, and I'm going to go to you, Aaron, and you, Brad, to close us out. But my minutes on high here right now, guys, is going to be looking at how much fun football has been this year. People can debate the refs, they can debate the rule changes, they can debate a lot of things. But the sheer number of games that have just been entertaining in both college and the NFL has been remarkable. And it's really made you appreciate this season, at least I have, more than normal, even enjoying what we're seeing. I guess right now I'll say sit back, drink it in, and enjoy it, right? I mean, it's fun to digest. So, Aaron, go ahead.
Yeah, so I was as I was thinking about what I was going to talk about, there hasn't really been anything this week that's got me real fired up one way or the other, but something that got me fired up last week. And if we had done the show last week, I would have used this one. But, last week, college basketball lost, and I don't want to talk about like he's dead because he's very much alive, but lost to me, somebody who's a great coach and a great human being, and Tony Bennett, when he announced his retirement with the University of Virginia. Tony Bennett was the reason why I wore number 25 when I played basketball in high school. Everyone else wanted to be Michael Jordan. I wanted to be Tony Bennett because I was white and knew I couldn't dunk or do anything Michael Jordan could, but I could shoot from the outside. So, I always enjoyed watching him and his dad coach at UW Green Bay. We had season tickets back then and just, loved it. That whole family, they're great human beings. And if I had a son who was playing college basketball, Tony would be the kind of person I would want him to have as a head coach. He's just another in a line of great coaches who have decided to leave in the last couple of years because of the current landscape in college sports, specifically football and basketball. And college, or to the NCAA, you need to clean this mess up. And if you saw any of Tony's press conference where he officially announced it and answered questions and everything, I agree with what he said. I'm all in favor of players being able to get a piece of the pie. If your jersey's being sold, it's got your name and number on it, you deserve some of that and all that kind of stuff. But the way the NCAA went about this, they knew this was coming. Whether both the transfer portal and NIL, and you had absolutely zero plan for it. It's the Wild West, and frankly, I'm not even sure if they can put that all back in the bottle. I think at this point, from what I've heard from a few people who know the law better than I do, one of the most recent cases or lawsuits or whatever against the NCAA pretty much is what brought this current system about. And the NCAA without the help of Congress, who right now I don't think they're even thinking about the NCAA, probably won't be able to really do anything about it. And, I remember growing up watching, as much as I hated Duke, I knew for 3 or 4 years they were going to have Bobby Hurley, Christian Laettner, Grant Hill, all those guys. And now I don't even know who the hell is on a roster from one year to the next. Last year, the Wisconsin Badgers men's basketball team had a kid, and I forget his name, who he left at the end of last season. He was a junior.
Star.
Who was it?
Star.
Okay. Yeah. So if he's the same one you're saying, he'd been, the Badgers were his third team he had been on in 3 years, and he left after one season to go to his fourth team now this year. That's ridiculous. That kind of stuff needs to stop. And that's even before we talk about all the money, changing hands. Jeff Hafley said it, I think, when he came to the Packers as a defensive coordinator this year, that, how little he actually coached football when he was the head coach of Boston College because of the NIL and transfer portal and everything else, which is one of the reasons why it made him appealing to leave a head coaching job to take basically an assistant job, in the NFL. So anyway, NCAA, get your act together. You're no longer an amateur sports league. Let's call it what it is. You are, when it comes to basketball and football, at least, you are a minor league for those professional leagues. Let's just be honest here. Anyway.
Fair enough. Brad?
I'm gonna be a little more basic. Like I'm one of these guys that I kind of go against the grain. A lot of people are like, hey, more sports is good. I think that's wrong. I think that there's way too much going on right now with the World Series and the NFL and the NHL and the NBA. And I mean, it's like I cannot literally keep up with everything. I'd like to, and I want to, but I can't because it's too much at one time. And I think that there needs to be a change in some of the scheduling, whether it be to shorten games up in the NBA to go less than 82, or to be able to start it after the MLB playoffs, because there are definitely some games that I'm going to miss out on, and that stinks. So please, MLB, or strike a deal with the NBA and the NHL. Do something, man. Work together. Get them off the air while we're finishing, please.
Brad, I'll piggyback here a little bit. I'll tell you, I love the Thanksgiving start after that last holdout or lockout. Thanksgiving, everyone, or even Christmas for that matter, the NBA. Let us just have that holiday to go watch all those games tipping off. Made it a lot of fun. But anyway, that being said,
there are a lot of people. Hold on, real quick here. But there are a lot of people who think that the NBA should push their season back to have their Christmas be their kickoff or their tip off, whatever you want to say. And honestly, to Brad's point, I think Major League Baseball needs to. This will never happen because of money. It just never will. But especially the World Series shouldn't be played in November. I'm sorry, it just shouldn't. That's my opinion. And I think if it goes 7 games, it will end sometime in November. I'd have to look at the schedule, or maybe just before November. But I think I would love to see Major League Baseball cut a whole month back. It just, instead of 162, go 132 or something. I don't know. I've never done the math on it and figure out how many teams you'd play or how many times you'd play each team. But I would agree with Brad though. Some of these seasons, you look at how long the actual season goes from opening day to the end of the playoffs, and you're like, my God, they hardly have a break.
No, I'll touch on that more another time, but in general, I agree with you guys. These seasons need to be a little shorter and give us a little more to digest. But guys, great talking with you. Have a great week. Go Pack, go. Here we go.
This shirt don't fit like it used to.